Lost my highlight.
Oh, is that Sean? You come?
No, it's actually St.
Oh, I see that. So are you recording sound from I can't talk. Just tell me when you turn it on.
It's on.
The Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting school district business, and if that be considered a public community meeting, time for public participation during the meeting, as indicated in the agenda item.
Why it's not on?
Public. And President Geauga, and the President Pro Tem. All the meeting orders, and so all the management and joint
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is swearing in of elected board members. Judge Dan.
I state your name.
I am person.
Solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of the Board of Education of West Geauga Local School District,
as a member of the Board of Education of West Geauga School District,
Geauga County, Ohio,
County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance with the laws
and in accordance with the laws
now in effect and hereafter
now in effect and hereafter
to be enacted during my continuance in said office
during the continuance of office
and until my successor is elected and duly qualified.
until my successor is elected and duly qualified.
So help me God.
So help me God.
He's on my side.
Brings us to item number 4, and I apologize for the first time I've done this. Item number 4 is the roll call. Here. Item 5, the approval of the agenda and addendum items. Can I have a motion? Any discussion? I would like to, in the new business, and Jeff, I apologize for somewhere in the past emails, to discuss policy 0131, legislative, district council sent some changes to that, and I've got copies here.
So this is a discussion and not a first reading.
It'll be a first reading because
Then
I
it
can't.
then it should go, and now the others are second readings. So typically the policies come through the policy committee, so this is out of the ordinary as far as being.
I understand it's okay to do. So, and we vote to approve the agenda. Is there any other?
I believe you're going to have to amend to have this as a item after you have the motion in a second. your motion was to approve the agenda as presented. Correct?
So you would just withdraw your motion.
I withdraw the
Oh, no, not
How do you
yours.
have the discussion until you have a motion in a second, that's right? Right, you can't discuss the agenda until you have a motion in a second.
Well, if the board wishes to have this added as a first reading, you would have to amend the motion on the second and then pass it by majority vote to have that be the new agenda, including the item just added.
Before we change it, can I then add discussion of professional development? So, I make a motion
Whatever the board
to,
decides to add,
right, I make a motion to accept the agenda with the items. Correct?
Second? I'll second it. No, we have discussion. Why did you get this all of a sudden? I didn't get this by email. Did I miss it?
It went back and forth, and we didn't get out, that's why we have a new business item, trying to put it on, so we can put it on, and that's not going out, so I've never seen this. Down in new business, at the first meeting, there's no vote. So I'm guessing in new business, where we have another policy meeting.
policy readings should be seen in committees. Policy readings are in the standing committee report. So we're not putting the bylaw reading in new business now, is that what I'm understanding?
It's going under item G in 13, the standing committee reports. G. Yeah, this is just.
So now,
Mr. Torrey? Yes. Mr. Kilroy? Yes. Mr. Potowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
item 6 is meeting minutes of December 14th and December 16th. Is there a motion to accept them?
Can I sign it?
Second?
Any discussion, correction?
I believe there may be an incorrect reading on those. What did I give you?
Yeah, the copies of the same one,
Is where there's an
but it was in the email.
copy has the wrong, it was May 14th and May 16th.
December,
Yeah,
I wish it was
December,
May.
wishful thinking, warm us all up.
And that's in what?
It's not in the paper copy, but it's, we were given it in our iPad. We just printed these and it was wrong.
Yeah, the electronic copy that was sent out has the 14th and the 16th. When I was looking through this, on the copy, I saw 2 14ths, and I realized that I copied, the paper copies I just gave to would have 2 of the same meeting minutes. The electronic version that was distributed earlier has both dates.
Are we okay then, just as is? No?
Mr. Torrey?
Yes.
Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Potowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Item 7, remarks to the public. Please note all persons wishing to address the board have a 5-minute limitation. Please state your name and address and the topic. Who would like to go first? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jane Stanich. I live at 8574 Sugar Tree Drive in Russell. And the topic is open enrollment. I guess I'm one of 4 people in the community that kind of likes open enrollment, so I just need to get some facts. one of my questions is, what is the dollar amount that this district will lose if open enrollment ends? And the second part of that is, how does the district plan to make that up? Will it be through levies or through, how do you make up that much money?
Open enrollment is a very interesting subject. There's different forms. There's contiguous. There's open enrollment to the state. As it stands right now, we get a roughly $1,000,004. I may not have all of the answers for everybody. I will do my best to interact where we can and return to the community meeting at some point. We will do community meetings, but I will try to help here. Open enrollment is revisited every year, and that's all that's going to happen at this time of year. It's got a lot of emphasis and interest. There is the contiguous aspect which we could go to. There is the present form that we're under, and it was started back when we thought we had some very serious holes in our budget. In the last 6 years, we as a district, everybody in all the capacities have worked very hard on our finances. And so, for example, our lunch program no longer loses $200,000 a year. Our investments made $300,000 more than they would have in the last 5 years. That's about $60,000 a year. We have had $300,000 in free contributions to the district for technology. The teachers union took a freeze. Our health insurance costs, due to a recession, unfortunately, were dramatically reduced. So that helped add open enrollment. So we're in a very strong financial situation right now.
Michael, do we now have a policy we're addressing people who ask questions? Is this interactive now? Because I'd like to address this also.
We are allowed to interact.
Good.
It may not go to the degree of having a community meeting, and I don't think we want to 5 hour.
Because I would like to address that subject.
At this time, I think that's good enough to address your question.
Well, I do have some things to say
Well,
that
I
Michael
didn't get
cover.
how
I would love
yeah.
to address it.
Yeah.
And the first thing is 1.4 million is very significant. That is 15 teachers.
That's what. Okay.
Open enrollment equals 15 teachers. If we lose that money, the money does have to be made up. Now, we have $9 million in the bank right now. The reason we have it is partly because of open enrollment, also because of the teachers' sacrifices, and also because of cuts that the board has made, which have been very painful. However, if we lose that $1.4 million, we'll have to dip into the $9 million. Having $9 million and losing 1.4 does not mean 1.4 divided into 9 to give us the number of years we're solvent. The reason is the teachers have taken a complete freeze. Their salaries will presumably go up. Other expenses go up. Our revenues do not go up. The reason they don't go up is when you pass a levy, we may say it's going to cost you $100 on a $200,000 house. However, that is not exactly true. A levy raises a specific amount of money that does not change with inflation or real estate values. So our funding is locked in. The plan with that $9 million is that we get the $9 million here, we save it, and as our expenses rise, we tap into that $9 million. So within about 2.5 years, Michelle could correct me, we will no longer be in the black. However, with open enrollment, we will be in the black for 5 years, as long out as our treasurer projects. So that is another point on open enrollment, which I think we do have to discuss.
And you said 15 teachers could be lost?
I'm sorry?
15 teachers
15
could be lost?
teachers. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, then I'm going to step in on that, since we're all stepping in. Because that's just an if. There could be many other different ways we cut other than teachers. There are many things. There are other bodies that aren't teachers. There are other places that we can cut from, just like we cut and reduced with our lunch program. Our operations manager has done a fabulous job reducing things down to the paper towels that we put in our district. But there are still other things that we are overspending on. So it doesn't necessarily. I think the point of all of our responses is there is no voting on open enrollment tonight. It's going to take us every part of 2 or 3 months to get to that point. That's his opinion, this is my opinion, but we all collectively have to come together and look at all of those variables to decide what the best one is.
Does the community have an opinion?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
They had an opinion. They had an opinion on the election night.
Yes, ma'am. And appreciate y'all being here, whatever the subject matter is that you're involved in. that we're going to try to be a little bit more responsive, in my opinion, accountable, polite, respectful. Let everybody know nobody in here is banging the table today, maybe me and somebody else. We're going to do things a little bit differently, I hope. And the thing is that we are going to review things. But for example, we're looking at an alumni association. An alumni association can help raise monies and other. I mean, there are grants that are out there that can be reviewed. There are different ways to go about accessing revenues, not just funds. Part of the good news lately is that we have a blue ribbon high school. We have to have, if we're going to advertise our district, that's something else we can do, to have people move out here, to be a part of our community, to help us get back to where we once were. We have to have something to advertise. A blue ribbon school is one of those things. Technology is something that we worked very hard on in the past, and I came in to the board 6 years ago talking about technology. We have iPads in 3 through 5. I'd like to have iPads in the elementary school so we can advertise one-to-one technology. We're a leader in that. So there's a lot that we're going to be looking at. It's not just us. That's way premature.
Is most of the community against open enrollment? I mean, I just don't even have a feel for it yet.
Don't know.
Okay.
Those of us that own homes.
Well, I don't know, I'm for it.
No, I'm just letting you know, the people who are taxpayers.
Hold on, Dr. Felton would like to say something.
Okay.
I just want to add one comment. I think with Doris and I, when we were running for election and talking about it, we said it should be revised. Not necessarily revised, reviewed was the word we used. So in my mind, I need to review it because I don't know it. My first meeting with Mr. Palmer was, I'm definitely going to have to vote on open enrollment, but I don't understand it. I mean, I haven't seen, and I think Mr. Palmer, right, they used to have people researching it. There's people who are doing community research, who are doing surveys, who are doing interviews. What I think is sad is that an article got written, and I got called many times today, my relative got called many times today, like, how could Dr. Phelps close Lindsay School? That's not what's happening, because I never ever said Lindsay School, I never knew about Lindsay School closing, I never thought of Lindsay School. I don't get any of that information. So that if there's any indication that new board members are being brought in to close Lindsay School, I mean, right away, it's not true for me. I don't know about other people. And I just think that has to be very clear, because I think the school got bombarded with calls today. My wife got bombarded, my brother-in-law got bombarded,
And
I got
emails.
bombarded. And everybody just needs to know, we seem to review it, at least me personally. And I think we're talking to other people in the community. It's supposed to be reviewed every year, so I don't have the facts. I would love to have the surveys from Mr. Palmer when they come to know, really, give me some hard data. How many people are interviewed? What was, we know what the election showed, but what was the results of interviews of the community? My kids have gone to Lindsay School. I hate to see that close, but if we're, if the school system is bankrupt, that's different, but we aren't. So I just think I hope people would at least stop and say, we kind of got elected to think about all this stuff, but we're not going to decide this today.
Well, one of the things we are going to do is we're going to have some more meetings hopefully on Monday, then on the 27th, and so that we can move along in all the analysis that we do.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Sorry. Yes, sir.
I'm Tom Leckie. I live on WestGBrd, and I think the group is mainly concerned about the Lindsay closing. I apologize that I guess I don't have a more active role in this, and that's why it was such a funny turnout tonight. But I guess the kernel of the question is there an active topic of discussion about consolidating Lindsay and Westwood? And if so, is it basically just a financial issue? So whether we know what open enrollment is or not is not really the issue. The issue is, do we have to have open enrollment to have enough money to keep the status quo? And is there being an ongoing analysis of that being done? Or is this just something that got into paper and is way ahead of you guys?
The answer to that is yes.
There's an analysis of closing the schools?
This got way ahead of Mr. Townsky's intelligence. He was quoted in newspapers, and sometimes not every newspaper quoting is correct, but he was quoted as talking about cutting teachers and closing Lindsay, and I think that is wildly premature. My personal opinion, We are financially stable.
So there's no active analysis going on today on that subject?
On clothing, Lindsay? Not that I know.
Well, you guys are the board.
Brand new, not that I know.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, the bottom line is I want to know if in a back room somewhere there is a analysis being done on the closure of either of these schools, or consolidating them, or closing both of them and opening up a new school. That's all I want to know.
In our strategic plan, the community was involved. The subject of declining enrollment came up. And if the number of students in our district fell to some point, sometime far down in the future, wherever that number is, which we don't,
Okay.
that something was to have to happen at that time,
Right.
assuming the board sat and did nothing, and didn't try to stop
Right.
declining, okay, at some point, way down the road, which we don't know, something might have to be done somewhere.
Okay.
That's as far as anything I ever sat in went.
Well,
Okay.
let me then address this.
Hold on one second, Ben.
Go right ahead, Michael.
Right now, Ben, we're trying to, I have addressed, I hope your question as
You
best as I know
did.
it.
I just have one addendum based on your answer. So, is it a true fact that, in a sense, that Lindsay and/or Westwood are going to be held hostage to the issue of open enrollment? Meaning, if we don't have open enrollment, then we're not going to get the funding from the state, and therefore, the consequence of that is that we will not be able to support those two schools.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
And the reason is, we have two choices. We may in fact be able to support them if the community decides. Yes.
The board members are supposed to address.
Use your gavel.
Yeah, you did.
I know.
They shouldn't be speaking without being recognized.
I asked the chair to recognize me.
Hold, please. Because
The proper thing is not recognized, I believe. Thank you.
we are in, as we just stated earlier, in the process of all the reviews that are going on, and there is no, I can't say there's a fact that anybody's held hostage to anything that would be fair statement. We're financially secure. We're analyzing the various opportunities we have with open enrollment and alumni and grants and many, many wonderful things that are out there. And so, no, I'm not going to go, I'm ill prepared to be able to say that.
So there's no chance that Lindsay's going to be closing in the next couple of years?
Not that I know.
Okay, that's the nut of what we're here.
That's correct. Not that I know.
Because if you guys do that analysis, I want everyone that goes to Lindsay and Westwood to get a notice that this analysis is going on, and that we get the numbers that are audited, and we get to review them ourselves and come up with these contingencies that you talk about. I applaud you for that.
Correct.
Thank you.
That will happen.
May I be recognized?
Unfortunately, Mr. Kotowski, we're just going to continue.
I think it would be fair, because you did reference me and things I said, Michael. I think it would be fair to simply allow me to respond.
It was in the News Herald. We reread it.
Control of your audience. Help me out, audience. Okay. Mr. Kotowski, your work forward in the newspapers, I think that's fair. We're trying to just move the meeting along a little bit, and when we have more information. And I apologize for the 5 minutes.
Not an airline.
My name is Sarah Mann, 9636 Kim Drive, Cheshire, Ohio. I did read the article, but I had heard rumors of this before that. So I'm not sure where the discussion started, but I did look through all the board minutes. There is nothing in any of the board minutes, but somewhere this is being discussed. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have heard about it before this article. I guess my concern is I worked on 3 levies. I've been involved in 2 PTOs. I do rec council. I'm not uninvolved in this community. We passed our PI levy on the basis that 4 buildings' roofs would be repaired. There are so many other concerns I have with this, but my primary one, because that's money, is that we will never pass a levy again if we go back on what we promised in the campaign for the PI levy. Regardless of whether any of the schools are closed, we promised the community that we were fixing these buildings. Whether we close Lindsay, keep it open or not, and trust me, I am completely against closing Lindsay. I was up all night the other night after I read the article because it bothers me that much. But we will still own that building. The school board still will own that building. We can't sell it. You can't do anything with it. It's in a residential area. It's only zoned for a school, a church, or a residential area. That building will still be ours. So any cost savings for maintenance is not there. we still have to maintain and fix that building. Regardless of any other thoughts as far as open enrollment, that building is still our building, and we need to take care of it, whether we keep it open or not. And I just think that's something that needs to be considered. We passed a campaign. I worked on 3 levy campaigns. We passed that levy based on fixing all 4 buildings. And that's a promise that I don't think we can back up on. It's something that needs to be considered. At some point, new money is going to be needed in the district again. There's no way around it. It's just the way it is. And people remember that. And Chardon is going to have a really hard time passing a levy again after what's going on there now when they just passed that levy. And I think people will remember that here, too, if we back on that promise that we're going to fix all the buildings. And whether or not this was discussed anywhere at the last school board meeting, there was discussion of holding off on fixing Lindsay. So somewhere this was discussed before this article came out. So there have been discussions, whether or not there's information backing it up, somewhere this has been discussed. And that bothers me as a parent that the way we're finding out is in an article in the News Herald, and that I can't find out in school board meeting minutes or anywhere else. This is the only place that it is. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. I'm the head of operations. Work with Mr. Russo. We did a levy. We passed the levy to fix the roofs. Our intention to fix the roofs. That's all I've heard myself. What's interesting is this article from Mr. Kasowski is news to me. It's our intention to fix the roofs. We have some money to fix the roofs. Unless the board decides differently down the road, as the head of operations, I'll be saying fix the roofs. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Michelle Allen. I live at 12965 Cassie Lane. I just would like to welcome the new board members. There's a lot of us that are really happy to see you here. And the way this meeting's going and the input that you've given, I like the common sense and the budgeting and finding money from other ways, and I think we're off to a great start.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Judy Phelps, and I'm from 12565 Chesterfield Lane. And I just wanted to say, if there was a discussion with the board members about not fixing the roof and so on, we have 2 new board members, so they weren't part of that discussion. Would that still be the same? If this discussion that Mr. Katowski mentioned in his article happened about closing Lindsay, who was it discussed with? Because our 2 new board members were just sworn in today. Thank you.
I'm sorry I don't have the answers to all those.
May I be recognized? I do have the answer.
Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm concerned about the loss of open enrollment money, and because if in fact we eliminate open enrollment, we will have about the right number to fill 1 school. Now, that means being fiscally responsible, we would run 1 school. It doesn't mean we have to. The community can decide if we can get the community to back various other forms of revenue. The community could decide it wants to spend that money on operating 2 small schools. However, we have right now 542 kids at the elementary level. Those 542 would basically fill Westwood School. Westwood because it's more centrally located, not because there's anything special about Westwood versus Lindsay. Now, in terms of how this came about, the reason this is important is, as someone just mentioned, we're about to put a roof on Lindsay. Now, roofs aren't cheap. That roof costs $750,000.
Demolish it for
So,
that much.
if in fact we were to get rid of open enrollment, we could have only resident kids in our schools. The price of that would be, if we want to be fiscally responsible, would be closing 1 of the 2 schools. And if in fact we decided to keep them both open, for instance, we'd incur significant additional expenses. And where would the money come from when we're losing $1.4 million a year and quite a few students? So that is where this started. The reason the board knows about this is because I sent an email to the board to discuss it. Because of sunshine laws, we can't have a back and forth. We have to discuss it here. So I broached the subject with them at the previous board meeting, And then I sent out an email detailing the reasons and so on. And then at this meeting, I believe it's something the board has to discuss. I don't have a position on closing any schools. It has to be discussed. But I am pointing out that fiscally, we'll be putting ourselves in a position where the fiscally responsible thing to do would be to close a school. And in terms of the number of students we'll have, they would fit into one school. So that's where the discussion comes from. It comes from me.
I think a lot of that information is opinion, Mr. Kotowski.
No, numbers are not opinion. I gave no opinion.
I think
But 542,
No, it's the number that
Isn't there like 400
We have
kids
400
at
in Westwood, and they have 390.
yeah, I'm talking about without open enrollment.
we have 250.
You're taking, no,
we have
it's not possible,
we
that
have
number's wrong.
250 open enrollment right now in the entire, I think in the entire district. That's from 1 through 12. So we're going to gather more information. We're going to get a much better handle on this. There are so many opportunities to be looked at right now. We're not obviously making a decision, but we'll be more thorough in our analysis. Yes, sir.
Anthony Cosley, 12537 Valley Drive, Chesterland. At the information meeting that Mr. Palmer and the school district had, we were told that we get $5,700 per open enrollment student, correct, roughly? And when Mr. Palmer asked Michelle, the treasurer, well, if we were a tuition-based school, what would we charge? The number was what, $9,500 to $9,800 per student? That makes sense. We're getting $5,700, but we could charge $9,800 for tuition. Numbers don't add up. Either does the $1.4 million. It's not my responsibility to educate somebody from Richmond Heights or South Euclid or Lyndhurst. I pay $6,800 a year in property tax out here for my kids to be educated out here, not somebody else's kids. Then my daughter wants to go to NDCL. I have to go get another job, my choice, and that's $11,000. So everybody's got to make sacrifices. I'm not going to Richmond Heights or coming to you to ask for the other $11,000. This is our community. West Geauga local schools. Get that, Mr. Bukowski. I know it's not an airline, and I know I'm just a dining room table, but that's where it lies.
Okay.
Can I just ask you?
And I'm from Bainbridge, and I'm sitting behind an enrollment daughter. I'm here for a very specific reason. And as all this discussion of money comes about, I just think that you're also need to be thought about the children and family.
I'm Christine Yule, and I'm a Richmond Heights person. Open enrollment. My daughter and my son, my daughter is an honor student here and has brought the high school to its blue ribbon.
Move here.
Yours alone, right?
Move here and share an
Move
advantage. Move here. Share the wealth.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's be respectful. We all want that
I
work.
pay
Move here. I'd like to
$5,000
live in Richmond Heights and pay your taxes.
I pay
Mr. Miller,
I pay $5,000 in property tax.
Move here.
no, I don't.
I pay $5,000 in property tax. I pay $5,000 in property tax, and like I said, this is affecting the students of open enrollment. My daughter is very nervous, along with the other people that are within Richmond Heights. They're not, you know, they're honors. There's a lot of honor students that came here that are open enrollment that want to learn because they cannot learn at the school they are in.
You learned your school. Don't come to mine.
So I'm just saying, as an open enrollment parent, it is very important that the children are thought of and their education is, you know, we travel, we're not, you know, we travel here to bring our kids to learn at a better school because we don't have that opportunity where we have our schools.
Thank you. We've gone over 30 minutes. Thank you, for, ladies and gentlemen, because we're trying to get ourselves going here. We will be we have a lot to accomplish going forward. This subject will be coming up again, I know. We will be interacting and have more information. Yes, we're there. Thank you. Good idea. Were there any other topics that people wanted to discuss besides open enrollment? Yes.
I can go first. I'm Esther Andes. I live on 8320 Wells Circle. I am the president of the WestGBrd Lacrosse Club. And we are here, several of the parents are here. Actually, some of our players are here as well. We're asking to come to school sport. We have over 100 kids that are involved in our sport. We've been doing this for over 10 years. And we really feel that it's time that we get the full support behind us from the school. So we would like to become school sport, and we would like to become the school sport for this season and the spring coming.
Esther, what sport?
Lacrosse.
Oh, lacrosse.
And I only know a touch because I don't think that the rest of them, and the only reason why I know your situation is because I'm head of policy, so it has been briefly brought up to my attention. And the only manner that I can say that the board is at right now with this topic is that they're looking at all aspects of it, in all sports, not just your sport, all club sports to figure out what is the best solution, if it is to become a school sport or, to keep it as a club sport. So I do know that there are active discussions and research going on to get to that point.
Yeah. So we're asking, we would like to become.
What's the time frame?
Oh, that, I don't know, they would have to be deferred to Jeff. I don't know.
I would say that we have had some ongoing discussions with lacrosse representatives dating back to last spring on this issue. I think there are many, I won't say obstacles, but there are many minor issues that must be worked through. In the ideal world, if everything falls into place, I think it's possible to have done for this school year. If it is something that the board has the desire to pursue, please understand I said if it is something the board has the desire to work through, and if the details can be worked out. That's the optimistic end of it, and I think it can be attacked and discussed and brought forward in a time frame that may allow that to happen. Again, if there is a wherewithal, there will be the ultimate decision on this.
Yes, Scott Lyric, 11640 Legend Creek. I just want to second what Esther said. I believe if you look at your policy, the policy of club sports is to see if they're self-sustaining. Well, lacrosse has been going on for 10 years. You have over 100 kids in our school district that participate in this sport. You have a middle school program as well with more kids that participate. So I think we meet the definition of the transition from a club sport to a school sport. And I would strongly urge the board to consider this, to make this a school sport and eliminate the club sport for lacrosse.
President, please, thank you. And I don't know any of those variables yet. Like I said, we just started researching it, so I can't say whether I'm for or against it. I think it would be a great thing. But I think some of the variables that we're looking into, aside from that, and Jeff, please correct me if I'm wrong, is when it becomes a school sport, there are costs on our end. So it wouldn't necessarily be, we have supplementals that you pay out for coaches and things like that. So there is a cost. I'm not saying that those are bad things, but again, when we're having discussions on costs and things, these are all the different variables that are going to come into play.
Are you going to involve us in the discussions? Because we can give you all the answers. We know how much the coaches get paid, what the uniforms cost. I mean, we know all the answers, but you guys haven't talked to us, so we'd like to be involved in it. We talked to Jeff, and Jeff has been very helpful in making time for us. But this is important. There's a lot of boys that are involved in this sport, and we really don't feel there's hardly any support at this school, and that is frustrating to me.
we have going on. We have Mr. Cardero, our athletic director, is evaluating costs of all club sports. One of the things that we've talked about here recently with the lacrosse folks is looking at this and trying to get some phases of this process of moving all of our club sports and redefining the policy that Mr. Larrick talked about, because our policy is a little bit confusing. I'll go with that on that one. So I think it is something that has been looked into, will require more work, and I think that in the next few weeks, it's something that it's my intention to work with Mr. Cardero pretty hard on here in the next few weeks and have some discussions with you as a board as well, and possibly from the committees that are developed tonight as well.
You would do that, we appreciate that. I'm hearing a few to 3 weeks, be working on this and bringing information forward. We appreciate all the input from those folks. Thank you very much. Any different topics? Go ahead.
Okay, Anita Zucker, 875 Stillwell Drive.
Last one, I guess, is that.
I was just going to ask, was there discussion, because I don't see it, about the gentleman who brought up the valedictorian situation, asking me to discuss it. I didn't see it on the agenda, so I just wondered if that was going to be discussed. That senior came.
We did not appreciate it. No, we did not make it on the agenda, but Mr. Palmer, we could put it on our next meeting to discuss, revisit it and bring it forward. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. That takes us to item number 8, which is organization of the board for 2014, the election of the president for 2014. Accept nominations, no second is needed.
I would like to nominate Mike Keller for president.
Vote, please. Actually, I think you just accept. Nominations.
Okay, sorry, any other questions?
Thank you.
I'd like to nominate Jackie DeTore.
I'm going to stop you there because I'm very humble to the, but I have no desire to be president at this time. Thank you. Very much.
So moved.
Second. Second.
Mrs. Dotori? Yes. Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Kapowski?
No.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I will do my best. We have the election of a vice president for 2014, and I would like to nominate Mrs. Dotori for vice
I
president.
second that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to learn a little bit more.
Any further discussion? Any other nominations?
Motion to close the nomination.
Second.
Mrs. Dotori? Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mrs. Kapowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Item C is approval of the board meeting dates, the time and location. All meetings are scheduled for the second, fourth Monday of the month at 7 p.m. except for January 13th. Please, did that one. January 6th today. Is there a motion to accept the dates? I motion to approve dates for board meetings.
Discussion?
Second.
Discussion. I have a couple, both personal and, I think, district issues. The 24th, I believe, is spring break. No, I don't think that's, I know that central office is typically here, but the rest of the staff is not here, so I think that should be moved to a different date.
It was March 24th.
24th.
Are we in session on March? I hate to do it back to back.
And you don't want to do the 17th, I mean, I'm just saying.
You don't?
I'm just saying.
Do you have a suggestion that works for you?
Oh, I was thinking of others on March 17th, not myself.
Are we in school March 17th at all?
Yeah.
Very good.
I would look at how far we are from here. After the 24th. spaces on the other.
As I'm saying, the is that
Going early, going 17th, you have 2 in a row, then you're off for 5 weeks.
Okay, so the March 24th, put that one up, 31st, is that communication?
We come back on Monday, that's just a.
Third, how about the first, is there March 31st?
Yeah, we come back on
Okay,
31st.
let's do that. You got work. March 31st.
And then my other issue, this has always just been because, I'm a holiday person, of course. But November, we have an October 27th meeting. So the November 17th meeting, I would ask to consider moving it to the 10th. It would still be, reasonable, because even though we are in school Monday, Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, I think there's a lot of things people need to do and family coming in and out, and I just don't think it's reasonable to have one meeting during a holiday week. Oh, the week before is, isn't it? So the Monday after, you have to? Oh, that's a Monday. They said it was on a Thursday. I don't know. I just like to take into consideration that the busyness of people's lives.
We got one on vacation. So we're going to leave that one in there because I don't know if we have another date that actually fits.
Oh, it's the 20th.
So should we leave it 17th? All right. So can we modify the 24th to the 31st?
Stop, we're still looking.
Okay.
So we'll give it March 31st.
Correct.
Mrs. Deltori?
Yeah.
Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Bukowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes. Item D, establishment of a service fund in accordance with ORC 3315.15. The board needs to establish a service fund to be used for paying expenses of board members actually incurred in the performance of their duties. The amount allocated will not exceed the maximum allowable under ORC 3315.15. Payment for conference expenses will remain in accordance with the district professional meeting guidelines.
Standard motion that's been there. This is board service.
A motion. Is there a second? Any other discussion? Clerk, please hold the roll, please.
Mrs. Deltori? Yes. Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Bukowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes. Item E, 2014 compensation for board members. Each board member shall be compensated in the amounts for the number of meetings as outlined in ORC 3313.12 or Education Bylaw 01.7. Current compensation for board members is $80 per meeting with a maximum number of meetings set at 24. Board members are paid after the end of each quarter, and I work for free. Motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Sorry, any discussion?
Mrs. Deltori? Yes. Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Bukowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
We can make a motion to.
Okay, we'll throw that down. Okay, thank you. F then? Okay, board appointments on behalf of the board. We have an OSBA legislative liaison, an OSBA student achievement liaison, an OSBA capital conference delegate, and alternate delegate. An OSBA legislative liaison, again, I was thinking of volunteering you to student achievement liaison, Ben, I was hoping you would be interested.
Okay, next one.
OSBA capital conference delegate.
I did enjoy it, thank you.
Do you have to write or do you want me to do it as before? But that's done.
You want to do the Dell?
I'll do it. Want me to do it? You want me to do it? Yeah. Okay. Jump down if you want it. And our WGCRD representatives, Susan Ebersbacher, 16, John Brownick through 15, and Barry Mandel through 14. Do you have anyone okay with putting that in there? Second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mrs. Dotori? Yes. Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Chakowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes. Appointment of the Board of Education representatives to standing committees, committee of the board, curriculum. We've got the curriculum, technology, finance, operations, personnel policy, curriculum. Ben, I was going to ask you for that. Sure. Technology, I did mine, just like to do it again. Our finance committee, Dan, I was going to ask you. Please. Operations committee, Mr. Russo, you're supposed to do. Personnel committee. So, you would that one, please. And policy committee, I get that nobody goes to. I'm good at that. No, that you have to leave. I think in the future, is this the right spot, Jeff, if we were thinking about having an alumni committee, in an alumni situation? Put that in now, or put that in the new business? Okay, all right. Item H is the operating, sorry. No, we don't. We don't need that for the organization. Yep. H is the operating protocol review and adoption. I think at this time we have some new board members on board who need to get up to snuff on this, so I think that should go back to the policy committee we looked at, Jackie. Okay. Item 9.
Wait, can you stop for a second?
Sure.
All board members, but I guess especially new board members, if you would, this is probably the easiest policy you're ever going to read in your life. Could you please look at it and send me any issues that you may have for the next week or so? So I know where, if there are any changes that need to be made or if we're okay as it.
This one, 0130? Or 0131, rather. No, that's one in our
Protocol.
Protocol review. Protocol review. Okay. 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 Thanks, Jim. Okay, so that takes us, I think that takes us to item 9, the treasurer's business.
Yes, these are the standing authorizations that the board approves every year. The first one is that I can request the county auditor to advance our taxes, which is normal procedure. We get taxes in February, March, and August of each year. The second one is authorizing the treasurer to pay the ordinary bills. The third is to waive the reading of the minutes at the board meeting, same year. The fourth is to authorize treasurer to invest funds that are not needed. The next one is to make appropriate modifications to the budget as necessary during the year. To authorize the signature of the treasurer to be used on all checks and warrants. To authorize the treasurer to make adjustments, transfers, and additional modifications to the budget and revenue prior to the close of the fiscal year. You always receive information on that in June, more information giving you the actual numbers. And to authorize the treasurer to designate the following financial institutions as depositories for calendar year 14. Huntington National, First National, and Star Ohio, which are the three we currently have funds in. So
These are usual customers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Yes.
So moved. Second. We got a second, Dr. Phillips. Show us on the roll, please.
Mr. Torrey? Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Chakowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes. And B, 2014 designation of newspapers. The treasurer requests authority to designate 8 newspapers of general circulation in the district to continue to receive meeting notices as required by law. Any newspaper which has received notification of meetings must submit a request in writing to the treasurer, indicating the name of the individual who received the notice, name, address of the newspaper. We've got the News Herald, Geauga County Edition, Dealer, Geauga County Edition, Spring Valley Times, Justin Lewis, and the Geauga County Legal Lease. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Michelle, please.
Mrs. Victoria, Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item C, representation of legal counsel, and resolution to approve the following list of firms for legal counsel representation during 2014. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 law firms listed there. Additionally, the Ohio School Boards Association, North Korea, and the Geauga County Prosecutor may be used as appropriate. The lawyers are Johnny Podkursky, Britton Smith, Peterson, Vallejo, John Hopkins, Ohio State Council's Legal Hotline Program, Preston and Andrews, Squire Singh, Lindsay LLP, Vulture, and Harris. Is there a motion to any discussion?
There is. One of our attorneys are with us tonight, and I would like to say that I'm honored to vote you in a minute, because you are a plethora of information that only helps me to be a better worker. So thank you.
Mr. Podkursky, thank you for doing that. Any vote?
Mrs. Victoria, Mr. Kilroy,
Yes.
Mr. Katowski.
Yes.
Dr. Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Forrester.
Yes.
Budget for 2014-15 fiscal year. Public hearing was proposed 2014-15 fiscal year budget. Resolution adopting the budget for the 2014 fiscal year.
This is the tax budget that the board approves every year, also at the organizational meeting, and I gave you a little cheat sheet that I prepared every year. So just teach you the basics of it. The tax budget is required by the Geauga County Tax Commission. It's a document that has the following information. The first schedule lists all the levies, all the taxes that have been levied. The rates are the rates that were passed. They're not the reduced collection rates. It looks like this. The second schedule is a list of all the funds that receive property tax revenue. It shows the prior 2 years' actual figures for revenue and expenses and the projection for the current year and the next year. The 001 and the 016 funds match the 5-year forecast. Those are the funds that show on the forecast. The permanent improvement expenses are estimated. The other funds that receive property tax revenue are permanent improvement and debt. And the debt expenses are actual amounts we will owe from our debt schedules. But each one of these little blocks is a different fund. We have listed what the fund is at the top of each of the blocks. You can see where we had paid off debt paid off in 13, where we had borrowed for the rates and the items. Those are all marked also. Schedule 3 is a statement of fund activity. That's a listing of funds that we spend that do not get property taxes, but perhaps student fees paid or athletics or different items like that. But we still have to report that to the county auditor even though we don't get tax money. And Exhibit 2 is the schedule of indebtedness. These are the debt issues that are paid with local taxes and the amount needed to meet the payments, so the auditor knows how much money to send us and at what times. The tax budget is used by the auditor. It provides our first certificate of resources for fiscal year 15, which is the next fiscal year, starting July 1st. We're always looking ahead. By law, you have to do this, to say we're going to receive this money and we're going to spend this money and we need this money. There will be a tax budget hearing at the Geauga County offices sometime in the month of February. There's a group hearing with all of the school districts in the county.
Thank you. Motion to approve as presented. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Michelle, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Victoria, Mr. Kilroy,
Yes.
Mr. Katowski.
Yes.
Dr. Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Forrester.
Yes. And then superintendent's business. Jeff,
These are, again, the standard resolutions. One is the authorization for me to excuse teachers, cover expenses of professional development, file applications for projects, designate superintendent as purchasing agent, recognize superintendent or designee as the appeal officer for out-of-school suspensions, and we typically use an administrator from the Geauga County Educational Service Center for suspension appeals. So those are typically handled by the designee. authorizes the superintendent to hire personnel and accept resignations when the board is not in session, so between board meetings, that is then finalized by the board, and then allows or authorizes the superintendent to delegate principals to enter into contracts for photography, yearbook, and those other minor year-to-year type contracts.
So moved. Motion to. Okay.
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? Can we vote?
Mrs. Jotori?
Yes.
Mr. Tiller? Yes. Mr. Potowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Okay, item B, establish 2014 committees on behalf of district administrative leadership. There's a audit committee, district communications committee, district technology committee, insurance committee, school safety task force, a wellness committee, and a West Geauga professional development committee.
Yeah, these are committees that are staffed by administrators and in some cases staff members, and this is just a board recognizes them.
Motion to approve that. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there is. You know, we have this new shared food guideline, if you will. Does that fall under, what does that fall under? Wellness committee?
Now, the wellness committee is actually part of our insurance process.
So who discusses that and who makes ongoing changes or adjustments? Because I've also kind of heard through the grapevine that there is going to be a committee formed like DC, not like DCC, but including different aspects of parents in each building or different staff members, things like that. Is that happening or not?
That would be news to me, so.
Oh, okay. So who talking?
Mr. Russo, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, what we're looking at is in the spring, the two elementary principals, as well as some other people of their choosing, will be part of the committee to review the current SNAP shared foods items, and review those and see if there are adds or drops.
Can I ask you, why would it only be the elementary? Was this now handed out to all buildings?
It was, but this is primarily an elementary school issue.
Do we need a separate committee, or does it just fall under our operations?
Well, he's saying that the principal.
He has made the recommendation came after consultation with Jim and I and the building principals to implement. So to me, it was just as a recommendation coming from Jim.
Well, I was just going to ask that, I've been to some American College of Pediatrics meetings, and many of the school systems have a wellness committee for students. I guess, they know I had asked if I did, but it was for teachers only, so I guess my question is, like, I think it has been into, like, if they send, you can debate whether they should have, but they send like BMIs out and every student meeting. So that, there must be some kind of a wellness committee, but, is there a wellness, we're doing a lot of snacks, and it seems to me there's a global wellness that happens in schools that could be talked about, whether it's nutrition, it's like, maybe it's sclerosis checks, vision checks, hearing checks, what other things should they do? Should they send out BMI?
Many of those things are required. The BMI has been in years past a board decision that this board has decided to fulfill and not participate in body mass index.
So maybe a wellness committee, though, that, I mean, I don't know what, I'm new here, so I don't know where would that fall under, would that fall under talking to nursing, or would that be a wellness?
Most of those are required by law. Most of those testings of students are handled through the school nurse, are part of our legal obligations to various grade levels throughout. BMI thing has been a board decision in years past. So, as far as an actual creation of some wellness group for students, that has not been something that we have discussed.
I would like to say, I don't know, I mean, I make a resolution that we create one, only because we have told our parents two things, that we're going to teach their kids and we're going to keep them safe. That doesn't just mean that the safety aspects of intruders, that means all aspects of it. And if there are things that we could be doing better, I think that's something that a committee should look into, you know.
Can we Jeff, this is something that we can look at a little bit further and maybe put on the meeting for the 27th.
I mean, any of these things like this could be added at any time. And the purpose of most of these at an organizational meeting is to get things in place so you're running for the rest of the year. You know, I guess what I would suggest at this time is that this issue go back to our leadership team and our next leadership team, which involves Mr. Russo, treasurer, involves our building administrators, that we have some discussion with that, to try to figure out what steps there might be and gather some information.
Is there a motion to approve the committees that we have as is? So we have a second. Angie, would you please roll, please?
Mrs. Dotori? Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Kukowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Item C, appointment of staff to positions for the 2014 year. The recommendation is to appoint the services to the following positions.
I mean, these positions here, Title IX hearing, anti-harassment, grievance officer, 504, compliance, civil rights coordinator, homeless liaison. Various laws require us to have a designee to be the point person on this, and in years past and continue, because she does an excellent job at this. We have done our director of legal services.
Is there a motion to approve as presented? Please. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Dotori? Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Kukowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings to a close the very first part of our meeting tonight, which is the organizational meeting. We're going to take a 2-minute break. Most of you take a 2-minute break, and then we will move into the second phase of our meeting.